The newborn cried in the jungle night. What the caveman did to protect him still shocks scientists. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the rocky outcrop. The wind whispered through the sparse trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant smoke. A figure knelt beside a small body, cradled in a cradle of flexible branches and thorny vines, its soft whimpers swallowed by the rustling leaves. The caveman's heart echoed in his chest, heavy with the weight of the moment. "Be quiet, little one," he murmured, his voice a low rumble. The child, nestled deep within the cradle, sensed his presence, its tiny fingers curling around the coarse fibers of the woven structure. The thorns wrapped protectively around the frame, a barrier against the sharp claws and hungry mouths lurking in the underbrush. The cave woman stood beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon, alert as the birds flitted nervously above. She brushed her fingers against the smooth surface of a stone blade, a gift from her mate, honed to a deadly edge. "You must bring something home today," she urged, her breath quickening. "It must be worthy of the rite." The caveman nodded, his jaw set with determination. Today marked the day of the first hunt since the child's birth, a rite binding father, mother, and child to the ancient tradition. Each newborn must be shielded by the father's first kill, a promise to the ancestors that their legacy would endure. The elders had spoken of the power in this act, how it forged a bond between the living and those who had come before. With a final glance at the cradle, he turned away, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. He moved deeper into the woods, each step muffled by the mossy floor. The air was thick with the scent of damp leaves and the promise of rain, a reminder of nature's unpredictable temperament. He fashioned a spear from a sturdy branch, sharpening its tip with a stone rasp. The rhythm of scraping filled the quiet, a metronome marking the seconds until the hunt. He clenched his jaw, imagining the thrill of the chase, the rush of adrenaline that would surge through him when he finally met his prey. But a shadow clung to the edge of his mind, memories of the rival clan's eyes flashing in anger, their howls echoing in the dark. They had crossed paths recently, a bitter encounter that left both sides on edge. The caveman tightened his grip around the spear, the wood warm beneath his calloused hands. Fear simmered, a bitter taste at the back of his throat. "Stay alert," he whispered to himself, though the words felt hollow in the empty woods. He could almost hear the elders' voices in the distance, weaving tales of valor and sacrifice, urging him to heed the warnings of old. The woods opened up ahead, revealing a clearing bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. The caveman moved forward, muscles coiled with anticipation. His eyes darted, searching for any sign of movement. A rustle to his left caught his attention, and he crouched low, heart racing. A fleeting glimpse, a deer, its slender form blending seamlessly with the underbrush. It grazed, unaware of the hunter stalking it. He breathed in deeply, the scent of damp fur mingling with the fragrant earth. This was it. This was the moment that would bind his family to the spirit of the land. He gripped the spear tightly and stepped forward, each footfall deliberate and silent. The clearing felt alive, the air crackling with the energy of the hunt. His resolve steadied as he drew nearer, muscles taut and focused. But just as he prepared to launch his strike, a distant howl shattered the stillness, an unmistakable sound. The rival clan. Fear coursed through him, a cold twist of dread. The deer bolted, its legs propelling it into the thicket, leaving him with only the echoes of its retreat. "Fleeing shadows," he muttered, frustration bubbling in his chest. He had to move quickly, his family depended on him. He shifted his stance, ready to retreat back to the shelter of the rocky outcrop. But the howl rang out again, closer this time. The rival clan's hunters were on the hunt, a hunt for revenge. With a final glance at the clearing, he made his way back, urgency driving him through the underbrush. The path felt heavier now, laden with the knowledge of danger lurking nearby. As he approached the shelter, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with strokes of deep purple and fiery red. The cavewoman stood waiting, her eyes alight with concern. "What happened?" she asked, her voice a thread of anxiety that wound through the evening air. "I saw it," he said, breathless. "But they are close." He gestured toward the shadows gathering at the tree line, invisible threats lurking just out of sight. Then we must invoke the ancestors, she said, determination flashing in her gaze, a fire igniting in her spirit. The caveman nodded, knowing that their only hope lay in the strength of their bond with those who had come before. Together they gathered stones and kindling, the dry wood crackling as they piled it high. They arranged the stones in a circle, crafting a small altar to honor the spirits. With hands steady, the caveman struck flint against stone, coaxing sparks into life. The fire flared, illuminating their faces with flickering orange light. "Ancestors, guide us," the cavewoman intoned, her voice rising above the crackle of the flames. The caveman joined her, the words flowing from his lips like an ancient song, a prayer to the guardians of their lineage. As the fire blazed, they felt the weight of the night lifting, a promise of protection enveloping them. The warmth seeped into their skin, dispelling the chill of fear. Together they stood at the edge of the shadows, the bond between them stronger than the threats that surrounded. They would endure. They would fight for their child. The night may be dark, but the fire of their lineage would light the way forward. The cave creaked as wind howled outside, a ghostly wail sweeping across the mouth of their rocky shelter. The flickering flames cast shadows against the jagged walls, dancing like spirits in a relentless tempest. The air was thick with the scent of charred meat, remnants of yesterday's hunt. The cavewoman stirred the smoldering embers with a sturdy stick, coaxing bright flames back to life. Smoke curled upward, acrid, but comforting. It promised warmth against the chill that seeped through the stone. "More wood," the hunter grunted, his voice gravelly from exhaustion. He knelt by the fire, his fingers tracing the rough texture of the worn flint blade at his side, sharp and ready. His gaze flickered to the entrance, alert for any sign of danger. The cavewoman nodded and moved deeper into the shadows, where the remnants of previous hunts lay scattered. She gathered sticks, brittle and dry. The wind howled like a wounded animal outside, a reminder of the threats lurking beyond. Her heart raced. She could sense the presence of the rival clan, their eyes always watching, waiting for a moment of weakness. "Stay close," the hunter commanded, his eyes never leaving the darkness. The child, wrapped tightly in soft pelts, stirred and cooed, warmth radiating from her tiny body. They had built their world around her, and the weight of that responsibility pressed against the hunter's chest like a stone. "Not safe," the cavewoman whispered, her breath misting. She returned, laying the sticks carefully by the fire. "We must prepare." With practiced efficiency, the hunter crafted a new spear from a sturdy branch, sharpening the end with a flint stone, the rasping sound cutting through the wind's howl. The cavewoman gathered sinew from a past kill, binding it tightly around the spearhead. Each movement was precise, every action a dance of survival. The fire crackled, sparks flying, illuminating the anxiety etched on their faces. Outside, the soil churned underfoot, spattered with recent rains. The earth was alive, thrumming with energy, a reminder of the cycles of life. In the distance, a low growl rumbled, a predator or a rival. The hunter's grip tightened around the spear, muscles coiling like a drawn bow. "Ritual tonight," the cavewoman said, glancing nervously at the child. "Elder will guide." The hunter nodded, eyes narrowed. Rituals were vital, a sacred connection to their ancestors, but he felt the weight of the unknown pressing heavily. "Protection," he murmured. "We need more. For the child." The cavewoman's heart lurched. They would sacrifice anything, food, comfort, their very lives, to keep the tiny heartbeat safe. She stepped closer to the fire, feeling the heat on her face, the warmth a fragile barrier between them and the world outside. "Gather sharp stones. We'll make traps. We'll defend our home." The hunter's lips curved slightly, admiration breaking through the tension. "We are strong together." They moved in swift silence, weaving around the cave, gathering materials. The rhythmic crunch of gravel underfoot became a drumbeat of their unity, amplifying the urgency of their preparations. The cavewoman's hands flew over the rough surfaces, collecting bone, flint, and sharp-edged stones. She felt the coolness of the bones. The remnants of life once vibrant now turned to tools of survival. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the entrance like a warning bell. A shiver raced down her spine. "Quickly," she urged, fear creeping into her voice. The hunter nodded, focusing on the task. He crafted traps, arranging sharpened sticks in the earth, a dangerous maze for any intruder. Each thud of the wood against the ground echoed like a heartbeat, punctuating their determination. "Ritual tonight," the cave woman repeated, but her voice wavered. Fear mingled with hope, a potent blend that coursed through her veins. "We must be ready." The hunter paused, his brow furrowed. "Taboo to break," he warned, voicing the silent dread that settled between them. The rituals were ancient, steeped in the wisdom of their ancestors. To disrupt them could invite wrath, the unseen forces angry at their disobedience. Yet the child's safety eclipsed all else. "Elder will understand," she insisted, her jaw set with resolve. "We protect what is ours." The hunter met her gaze, the flickering flame reflecting in his eyes, a storm of emotions swirling beneath the surface. "Then we follow both paths, honor and protect." As night descended, the air turned electric, charged with imminent danger. They huddled close to the fire, the child nestled between them, blissfully unaware of the turmoil. Outside, shadows stretched and twisted, forming ghastly shapes. The growl of a predator echoed again, closer, a visceral reminder of the fragile line that separated them from the wild. The cave woman pressed a palm against the child's forehead, feeling warmth radiate from her skin. "You will be safe. We will ensure it," she whispered fiercely. The hunter stood at the cave's mouth, spear poised. The wind gusted, carrying the scent of damp earth and wildflowers mixed with the musk of impending rain. He strained his ears, listening for any rustle in the darkness. A distant howl pierced the night, a call of the wild, a signal that they were not alone. "Elder approaches," the cave woman spoke softly, spotting the shuffling figure in the distance, enrobed in shadow. The elder's silhouette emerged, stooped, bearing the weight of wisdom and age like a mantle. "Your fire burns bright," the elder rasped, voice like gravel. "But darkness creeps closer." "Ritual," the hunter replied, determination lacing his words. "We prepare." The elder nodded slowly, eyes glimmering with understanding. "The spirits speak, they warn of peril. The tribe must gather." The cave woman felt a tremor of fear. The rival clan. "Not alone," the elder warned. "The forest stirs. They sense weakness." The tension in the air sharpened, palpable. The hunter shifted his weight, gaze sweeping the surroundings as if the night itself would offer up answers. "We will hold," he stated firmly, "for the child." "Gather the tribe," the elder commanded, his voice stronger now, resonating with authority. "We will invoke protection. Only united can we face what comes." The darkened sky rumbled, a low growl of thunder, as the three figures stepped deeper into the cave, the flickering fire casting erratic shadows. The cave woman felt the surge of unity push through her, the pulse of a community ready to stand against the storm. The hunter prepared the firewood. The cave woman gathered herbs for incense. The elder began to chant, the ancient words weaving through the air, pulling the energy around them into a protective cocoon. Each whisper felt like a thread, binding them together, instilling a fierce determination. Outside, the wind howled and the shadows lengthened. The night felt alive, thrumming with tension, a predator stalking its prey. The hunter's heart raced. He could almost feel the gaze of the rival clan, watching, waiting for a moment of vulnerability. "We are one," the cave woman whispered, her voice steady. The hunter nodded, the weight of his ancestors pressing upon him. "For the child." With each passing moment, the fire blazed brighter, casting flickering light against the walls, creating a safety net of shadows around them. The elder continued to chant, the rhythm echoing against the stone, a heartbeat in the darkness. As more members of the tribe arrived, each face illuminated by the glow, a sense of purpose surged through the cave. Fear mingled with resolve, a fierce clarity born from the instinct to protect what was theirs. Outside, the storm gathered, a mixture of wind and rain swirling into a frenzy. But inside, there was warmth. The fire crackled, each snap echoing like a promise of survival, of unity, and of sacrifice. The child cooed, her little hands reaching toward the warmth, blissfully unaware of the shadows looming just beyond their fragile sanctuary. The storm raged on, wild and chaotic, but within the cave, hearts beat as one, pulsing with the rhythm of life. They would endure, they would fight for their child. The night may be dark, but the fire of their lineage would light the way forward. The wind howled, a mournful cry that pierced the stillness of the cave. Shadows danced wildly along the damp walls, flickering to the rhythm of the flames. The hunter, broad-shouldered and resolute, clenched his spear tighter, feeling the rough wood press against his palm. Each crackle of the fire whispered promises of safety, but outside nature thrashed with unbridled fury. The cave woman cradled the baby, her scent mingling with the warmth of soft pelts. She hummed a soothing tune, a lullaby passed down through generations, echoing against the stone. The infant cooed softly, oblivious to the chaos, her small fingers grasping the edge of the fur. The cave woman glanced at her partner, eyes filled with a fierce determination. "We protect," she whispered, her voice steady amidst the storm. The elder, frail yet wise, sat cross-legged near the flickering light. His skin was a tapestry of stories, each wrinkle a testament to survival. He muttered ancient incantations, invoking the spirits of the ancestors. A thread of smoke coiled upward, heavy with the scent of burning wood, mingling with the earthiness of damp stone. "The storm is not our enemy," he breathed, his voice a raspy whisper. "It is life, ever-changing." Suddenly, a loud crack echoed. The hunter flinched, the sound sharp as flint striking flint. "They come," he growled, eyes narrowing as he scanned the cave entrance. His heart raced, fueled by instinct. The rival clan had always sought to claim territory, to challenge their existence. Gripping his atlatl, he prepared for confrontation. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of wet earth and the distant musk of an approaching rival. The hunter caught a glimpse, figures blurred by the torrential rain, moving swiftly like shadows through the trees. "Prepare," he barked, urgency igniting the air. The cave woman shifted the baby closer, eyes widening in fear, yet resolute. "Our child," she pleaded, protective instinct flaring. "Gather stones," the hunter commanded, his voice a low growl. "We fight for our blood." The cave woman nodded, urgency slicing through her fear. She moved swiftly, fingers brushing against the cool, jagged edges of stone scattered around the cave floor. The elder continued his murmurs, calling upon ancestral strength, urging the spirits to lend them courage. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the rock like 1,000 tiny fists. The sound was deafening, a natural war cry echoing through the night. With every beat of thunder, the anticipation grew, thrumming in their veins. The hunter positioned himself at the entrance, a guardian of life, muscles coiled and ready. "Fire!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. The cave woman grasped a long dried branch, its weathered bark rough against her fingertips. She held it to the flames, coaxing the fire into a blaze, illuminating the dark cave and casting fierce shadows. The glow danced around them, a protective aura against the unknown. The elder's chant rose in intensity, a primal sound that vibrated through the stone. The cave resonated with the weight of history, each word a tether to their ancestors, binding them together in purpose. The baby, cocooned in warmth, sensed the tension. Tiny hands reached out, seeking comfort in the chaos. Soon, the first figure emerged from the rain, dripping and wild-eyed. The rival clan member, cloaked in the grime of battle, wielded a crude spear adorned with feathers. The hunter's breath quickened. "Stand ready," he growled, muscles tightening like a drawn bowstring. With sudden ferocity, the rival lunged. The hunter met him, spear clashing against spear with a resounding crack. The sound echoed in the storm, ringing like a bell. The cave woman, heart pounding, hurled a stone with all her strength. It struck true, sending the attacker stumbling back, eyes wide with surprise. "Fight," she urged, adrenaline coursing through her. The elder's chant transformed into a battle cry, weaving strength into the air. The hunter, emboldened, pushed forward, grounded by the belief in their right to exist. Each thrust, each dodge, was a dance of survival, primal and raw. The storm raged, a backdrop to their struggle, but within the cave life pulsed fiercely. They fought not just against flesh and blood, but against the very forces of nature that threatened to tear them apart. The cave woman, with hands raw and trembling, pressed her body against the wall, feeling the cool stone beneath her. Each crack of lightning illuminated the shadows, revealing the fear etched on the child's face. The elder crouched low, murmured ancient words, invoking the spirits of the mountains and rivers. His voice was a low rumble, almost lost in the chaos outside. "Stay close," the hunter grunted, tightening his grip on the spear. A chill swept through the cave, mingling with the scent of damp earth and smoke. He felt the weight of responsibility like a heavy stone upon his chest. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears as he listened for any sign of danger. Outside, the wind howled, a wild creature that could swallow them whole. The sound of branches snapping made hearts race. The cave woman clutched the baby tightly, feeling the warmth of soft skin against her flesh. She whispered promises of safety, her breath steady against terror's tide. Suddenly, a loud crash sent a tremor through the cave. The hunter sprang to his feet, muscles tensed, eyes wide. "Rival clan!" he shouted, urgency slicing through the air. Fear ignited the cave. They were not just fighting nature, but also the unknown. The hunt for survival took on a new ferocity. Each member of the tribe knew what was at stake. A chill swept through the cave as the hunter's call echoed, reverberating against the stone walls. The cave woman clutched the baby to her chest, heart pounding, her breath shallow with dread. Shadows danced in the flickering firelight, merging with the shapes of primal instincts. The elder's voice broke through the tension, low and steady. "Ready your weapons, we defend our own." The tension was thick, a palpable force binding them together. The cave woman felt the coarse fibers of her clothing scratch against her skin, a reminder of the world outside. She reached for a sharpened stone, the edge cool against her palm, grounding her amidst the uncertainty. The hunter, now standing at the entrance, gripped a clava, knuckles white with the strength of his resolve. He felt the weight of his tribe on his shoulders, a burden that left no room for fear. From the entrance, the sounds of the rival clan grew louder, an unsettling symphony of growls and shouts. The cave woman's heart raced as she spotted figures darting through the trees, their silhouettes merging with the shadows of twilight. "They come," she gasped, her voice catching in her throat. "Hold your ground," the hunter commanded, eyes narrowed, scanning the darkness for any hint of movement. The others shifted uneasily, their grips tightening on their crude weapons. Atlatls poised, spears ready. The cave's warmth clashed with the icy dread clawing at their insides. As the first figure burst into the cave's mouth, a wild cry rang out, startling the cave woman. She steadied herself, forcing her breath to slow, listening to the rhythm of her tribe's hearts, thumps echoing like war drums. "We must not falter," the elder urged, his voice steady as stone. "Remember our kin, our children." The cave woman glanced down at the baby wrapped in furs, the small body warm against her. She could not let fear extinguish the flickering light of hope. Suddenly, a shrill scream pierced the air, cutting through the chaos. The hunter turned, eyes wide as he spotted the rival clan member, fearlessly charging forward, weapon raised high. "Now!" he called, launching his spear with all his might. The weapon sliced through the air like a bolt of lightning, striking true. The rival fell, but the threat was far from over. More figures swarmed the entrance, a relentless tide of rage and desperation. The cave woman felt her instincts kick in. She pressed her back against the cool stone, cradling the baby tighter. "Stay with me," she whispered fiercely. The elder moved to her side, his presence reassuring amidst the chaos. Around them, the tribe roared in defiance. The sounds of clashing stone and bone filled the air. The cave woman watched as her kin fought with a ferocity born from survival, each swing of their weapons echoing the primal call to protect their own. But then, she noticed a shift, a momentary lull in the battle as the rival clan hesitated. A tall figure emerged, cloaked in shadows, eyes like embers. He raised his arms, signaling for an uneasy truce. "We demand a parley." The hunter's eyes narrowed. "More words, less fight," he spat, spitting onto the ground. "You think we'll yield? We seek what you have," the figure replied, voice smooth as silk yet laced with venom. "Food, shelter, your women and children." The cave woman felt a surge of rage as her heart pounded like a war drum in her chest. "We will never surrender," she shouted, the fire in her voice igniting a fierce resolve in her people. The figure's eyes flickered, an ember of uncertainty amidst the smoldering tension. "Then we will burn your home to ash." A collective gasp filled the cave. The cave woman felt a tremor of fear, but she locked eyes with the hunter, who stood resolute, the clava heavy in his grip. "We do not fear your threats," he declared, his voice unwavering. "We will fight until our last breath." "Very well," the figure sneered, retreating into the shadows. "Prepare for war." The air crackled with intensity as the rival clan vanished into the darkened woods. The cave fell silent, a crushing weight settling over the tribe like a shroud. The cave woman felt sweat bead on her forehead, her heart racing with the aftermath of the confrontation. They had survived, but the storm was far from over. The elder turned to the tribe, eyes bright with determination. "We must gather our strength. We prepare for what comes next." The cave woman nodded, the firelight illuminating resolve on her face. She felt the grip of the baby against her chest, the warmth a reminder of what was worth fighting for. They would not let the dark shadows of the rival clan snuff out the flame of their community. The hunter began sharpening weapons, the sound of stone on stone ringing through the cave. A battle hymn. Each stroke, a reminder that they were alive, that they would fight. The cave woman joined him, her fingers deftly working on a spear, the familiar rhythm easing her mind. But shadows loomed outside, wild and untamed. The tribe exchanged worried glances, the uncertainty of the morrow weighing heavy on their hearts. Outside, thunder rumbled, a warning from the heavens, a reminder of nature's fickle hand. The first drops of rain began to fall, heavy and cold against their skin. "It is a sign," the elder murmured. "Nature is restless." The cave woman's heart sank further. The rival clan, the storm and the certainty of violence hung in the air like the scent of impending rain. They were not just fighting each other, but also the unpredictable forces of nature. As the rain intensified, the cave woman's thoughts raced. Would they find the strength to endure the coming storm? Would their community, their very existence, withstand the wrath that loomed? In the heart of the cave, surrounded by the flickering light of the fire, she knew one thing with certainty. They had to stand together. Whatever the storm brought, they would face it as one. The hunter stood tall, meeting her gaze, and the cave woman felt a flicker of hope reignite. They were not just a tribe. They were a family. And for family, they would sacrifice anything. The rain poured down, the cave trembling with the weight of the storm outside. The hunter's voice broke through the turmoil. "We prepare, we fight, we survive." The cave woman nodded, the baby nestled securely against her body. Together they would weave their strength into a tapestry of resilience, readying themselves for the challenges that lay ahead. And as the lightning split the sky, illuminating the chaos, the cave woman took a breath, heart steady. They would not back down. They would not be shattered. Together, they would face the storm. Together, they would survive. The wind howled, a wild beast tugging at the edges of their sanctuary. Rain lashed against the rocky face, a relentless drumbeat marking the battle between nature and the fragile lives within. The cave woman grasped the child close, feeling the warmth of soft flesh against her rough skin. Breath quickened, yet she kept her voice low, steady. "Stay close," she whispered, fierce and protective. The elder's voice broke through the roar of the storm, gravelly yet commanding. "We must not lose the fire." The flickering light danced against the stone walls, casting shadows that leapt and twirled like spirits in the night. The hunter moved with purpose, gathering dry bark and twisted twigs. Each piece was a lifeline, a spark of hope against the encroaching darkness. His fingers, calloused and strong, worked swiftly, carving into the thick air. The smell of wet earth mixed with damp wood, a pungent reminder of the storm's fury outside. "Bring the resins," he shouted, urgency lacing his tone. The cave woman released the child, moving to the small cache of sticky sap. Fingers sticky with the sweet, earthy substance, she hurried back, handing it over. The hunter smeared it on the tinder, coaxing the fire to grow. With a sharp breath, he struck flint against stone. Sparks flew, igniting the tender heart of their hope. Flames caught, a golden light blooming against the shadows. Relief washed over the cave woman, yet a chill crept into her bones. Then came the sounds. A distant clamor, raw and unrestrained. The clash of spears, shouts that pierced the deafening storm. The rival clan, drawn by desperation or hunger, sought to claim their haven. Tension knotted in the air. The elder turned, eyes narrowed, muscles taut. "Prepare," he commanded. "They will come for what is not theirs." The hunter's jaw tightened. We are strong. We will defend. As the flames danced, the cave woman felt the pulse of fear rise within her. The child clutched her leg, wide eyes reflecting the flickering light. Mama? She knelt, smoothing the child's tangled hair with calloused fingers. Stay with the elder. He will keep you safe. Her voice was a low murmur, but the resolve was strong. Then, in a blur of motion, the hunter gripped a crude spear, fashioned from stone and bone. The clava rested at his feet, a weapon of blunt strength. He stepped forward, gaze fixed on the mouth of the cave. Fight or flee, we will not fall, he murmured to himself, the mantra pushing him towards the entrance, where the frigid air whipped against his skin. The storm grew louder, a curtain of rain drumming against the earth. Shadows shifted, figures darting in the downpour. The rival clan's approach was a dark tide. Heart racing, he tightened his grip on the spear, readying himself. The elder rallied the others, their faces set with determination carved into the lines of their skin. Stand together, for kin and blood. The cave woman stood tall, breath steadying. The fire crackled, its warmth a shield against the encroaching dread. She turned to the child, tracing a thumb across the small forehead. You are brave. You are our light. Then the first shout pierced the night, echoing through the storm. They come! With that, the cave woman surged forward, joining the hunter at the mouth of the cave. The tempest raged, a feral chorus drowning out reason. She could smell the salt of the ocean air mingling with the scent of fear. The roiling clouds hung heavy overhead, a dark omen. The rival clan emerged, figures silhouetted against the storm, faces wild and desperate. A guttural cry rose, a battle call that quickened the pulse of every heart within the cave. The hunter stood firm, muscles coiled like the springs of a bow, ready to release. Together, he barked, a rallying cry that thundered against the storm. The cave woman mirrored his stance, spear raised, eyes sharp. The elder joined them, brandishing a crude weapon of bone. They formed a line, a wall of humanity against the chaos. Then, a flash, a moment of clarity in the tempest. The rival clan surged forward, driven by primal hunger and need. The clash of stone on bone rang out, sharp and unyielding as the two worlds collided in a storm of chaos. Dust rose, thick and suffocating, mingling with the scent of sweat and fear. The hunter's breath came in ragged gasps, heart pounding like a drumbeat of war. "Protect the young!" he shouted, voice hoarse, but the words barely reached the ears of those lost in the fray. The child, wide-eyed and trembling, clutched the cave woman's leg, feeling the tremors of the ground beneath them. The elder stood firm, a rock among waves, eyes scanning the clash, searching for any sign of weakness. With a swift motion, the hunter raised his atlatl, launching a spear toward the rival clan's leader. The shaft flew true, slicing through the air, a fleeting promise of hope. It struck true, burying deep into flesh. A howl pierced the cacophony, echoing off the stone walls, mingling with the cries of battle. But the moment was fleeting. A surge of bodies pressed in, a tide of limbs and fury. The cave woman, tending to the baby, felt the pull of instinct. She turned, cradling the tiny one closer, heart thrumming in sync with the distant clash of combat. "Stay hidden," she whispered, thin lips trembling. A sudden crack of bone, a figure fell, lifeless, the soil soaking with crimson. The elder raised a club, shouting ancient warnings, calling upon the spirits of ancestors. Yet, even the whispers of the past seemed drowned by the ferocity of the present. The cave woman's hands clenched around the baby, panic dulling her senses. Then, silence. A heartbeat of hesitation swept through the battlefield. The rival clan paused, eyes darting, sensing a shift. The hunter glanced back, catching the gaze of the cave woman. A moment stretched between them, a silent understanding, a pact forged in the fires of desperation. "Retreat!" he roared, voice breaking through the fog. Bodies recoiled, the tide turning as the weight of impending loss settled in. The cave woman sprinted toward the shelter, pulling the child with her. Yet the ground shifted beneath them. A tremor, a warning. A crack opened in the earth, jagged and hungry, as if nature itself sought to swallow their world whole. The elder stumbled, eyes widening in realization. "The spirits are angry," he cried, clutching his club, glancing back at the advancing rival clan. Hesitation dissolved into motion. The hunter turned, fierce determination igniting within him. Together, he bellowed, rallying those around. Each soul echoed the call, hearts beating in unison. The cave woman held the baby close, feeling the warmth of life against her chest. "We must stand," she urged, knowing sacrifice might be the only path to survival. The weight of the moment pressed heavily upon them, thick like the dust swirling in the air. Though chaos loomed, a flicker of resolve ignited. They would not crumble. They would forge their fate from the embers of this day. A primal roar erupted, as one clan faced the storm together, the bonds of community tightening, fierce as stone, unyielding as time itself. The wind howled, a chilling warning that swept through the valley, carrying with it the scent of rain and the promise of thunder. The hunter, muscles tensed and senses sharpened, gripped his spear tightly. His eyes darted toward the darkening sky, then to the encroaching rival clan, shadows moving like predators stalking through the underbrush. The air crackled with anticipation. "Stand together!" he bellowed, voice raw and commanding. The cave woman, hardened by years of survival, nodded, her grip steady on the clava, its weight familiar and reassuring against her palm. The elder, wise and weathered, raised his arms, calling forth the collective strength of their kin. "Fear binds, but courage frees," he urged, voice steady as the mountains. "Let the earth hear our resolve." The child clutched the baby, instinctively shielding the smaller one from the impending storm, his eyes wide and shimmering with both terror and determination. The rival clan emerged from the trees, fierce and resolute, painted faces glistening like wet stone, brandishing their own weapons, a cacophony of wood and bone sharpened for battle. The hunter felt a pulse in his veins, the rhythm of the earth vibrating beneath his feet, urging him forward. A shout split the air, a signal as the rival leader charged. "Now!" The hunter's voice cut through the chaos, a rallying cry that echoed off the rocky cliffs. The thunder near and far rolled ominously, a reminder of nature's unpredictable wrath. With a primal scream, the tribe surged forward, a wall of flesh and fury, hearts beating in unison. The clash of stone against stone resonated in the air, like thunder answering thunder. The cave woman swung her clava. It connected with a rival's shield, splintering the air and sending shockwaves through her arm. She felt the sting of sweat mingling with the dirt smeared across her face. The scent of blood, a metallic iron tang, pervaded the battlefield as spear tips found flesh, and shouts filled the space where silence once reigned. Amidst the chaos, the elder remained stoic, arms raised, calling upon the spirits of their ancestors. "We fight for life. We fight for those we love." His voice a rock grounding the clan as they fought as one. Around him, the tribe moved with the rhythm of the earth, fluid and powerful, each blow forged from years of survival. The hunter spotted the rival leader, a hulking figure amidst the fray, rallying his own kin with fierce yells. Anger burned in his chest as he fought through the melee, dodging fierce strikes, feeling the rush of wind as a spear skimmed past his shoulder. He lunged forward, his muscles coiling like a drawn bow, eyes fixed on the target. "Your reign ends here," he shouted, voice raw with the fire of battle. He hurled his spear with precision, the shaft slicing through the air like lightning. It found its mark, plunging deep into the rival leader's side. A scream erupted, raw and primal, slicing through the tumult like an arrow. The rival leader staggered, shock and pain flashing across his face. For a heartbeat, time held its breath. With that single blow, the tide of battle shifted, their clan surging forward. Like a sudden flood, they overwhelmed the cracks in the enemy's line. But the hunter felt no triumph. He only felt the weight of the moment. The storm overhead crackled, the first drops of rain splattering onto the earth, mingling with the blood-soaked ground. He turned, searching for the child and the baby. The child had moved, darting between battling bodies, eyes wide with fear. He cried out, "Mother!" A single piercing note in the cacophony of chaos. The cave woman, locked in combat with a rival warrior, heard that cry and felt a surge of instinct, a wave crashing against her heart. "Stay with the elder," she yelled, striking outwards. A swinging arm caught her off guard, sending her staggering back. The rival warrior lunged forward, intent on taking her down. The cave woman steadied herself, the grit in her boots grounding her as she focused. She swung low, using the clava to trip her opponent, the sound of cracking bone echoing in her ears. The warrior fell, and she pivoted, sprinting toward the child, heart pounding like a drum. "Mother!" The child was rooted, eyes wide with horror, every instinct telling him to flee. The baby squirmed in his arms, unaware of the danger, blissfully ignorant. "Grab my hand!" she shouted, reaching out, her heart threading through the chaos. The moment stretched, an eternity where the world narrowed to only them. He lunged, fingers brushing against hers, a spark of connection. Then, with a breath of relief, he gripped her hand tight. Together they moved, weaving through the battlefield, the thunder of hooves and chaos swirling around them. The cave woman pivoted, directing her son to the rocky shelter at the edge of the fight, the elder guiding them with a firm presence. The storm broke open, fat drops of rain falling like the tears of the earth. It mingled with the sweat and blood, turning the ground into a treacherous mire. The elder shouted commands, directing the frantic movements of their clan, urging them toward safety. "Hold the line! Protect those behind!" A rallying cry that echoed off the stone. The hunter plunged forward, a warrior's purpose ignited within him. He fought onward, eyes scanning for the vulnerable, the wounded, the young. He felt the rhythm of their clan, a heartbeat against the chaos, and surged, unyielding. A rival warrior broke through, eyes wild, desperation driving them forward. The hunter's heart pounded, instincts flared. He moved, spear ready. A swift motion, a twist. He felt the cold bite of the spear's shaft as it found its target, the rival collapsing before him like a fallen tree. "Focus!" he shouted, voice hoarse, heart racing. The storm raged on, the rain drenching the fighters, slicking the ground beneath them, making it harder to stand. The scent of wet earth filled the air, mingling with the metallic tang of blood. The world was a blur of chaos, yet within that storm, he found clarity. The rival clan, shaken, began to falter. Glances exchanged, uncertainty creeping into their ranks. The hunter seized the moment, rallying his tribe. "Now! Push them back! We defend our home!" With a fierce roar, they surged. The cave woman stood beside him, clava raised high, unwavering. The elder, without fear, shouted words of strength, guiding them like a beacon against the storm. They charged, a united force, and slowly they began to drive the rival clan back, step by step. And then, amid the tumult, the hunter caught sight of the child, trembling with fear, clutching the baby against his chest. The hunter's heart ached, a surge of protective fury igniting within him. He fought onward, clearing a path, desperate to reach them. "Stay close!" he yelled, voice breaking through the storm. The child nodded, eyes wide, following the rhythm of the chaos, the bond between them a lifeline. Together, they ran, weaving through the fray, hearts pounding in synchrony, the storm shrouding them in a veil of water and grit. But then, a crack of thunder echoed above, ripping through the air, a signal from the sky. The rival clan faltered, unsure, hearts heavy. The storm seemed to halt, as if the earth itself held its breath. The hunter seized the moment, his voice booming with newfound strength. "Together! Stand firm!" With a roar that shook the ground, their clan surged forward, the storm at their backs. The rival warriors, shaken, began to retreat, senses frayed, hearts trembling. Each step back was a victory, each shift of ground a win. And then, as if nature itself approved, a bolt of lightning split the sky, illuminating the battlefield in stark relief. The rival leader, bloodied and bruised, met the hunter's gaze one last time, a flicker of fear, an understanding. But the hunter felt no pity. In this moment it was survival, it was his clan, it was the child and the baby who needed him. He charged forward, a primal force of nature. The rival leader stumbled, slipping in the mud, a gasp escaping his lips as the hunter's spear found its mark. The roar of the storm rose in a crescendo, enveloping them. The rival clan broke, scrambling back, fear now cemented in their hearts. And with that, the battle ended, a symphony of chaos fading into the sound of rain. The hunter stood tall, breathing heavily, drenched and triumphant. The cave woman fell beside him, panting, but with fire still burning in her eyes. Together they turned toward their kin, gathering in a circle, the elder raising his arms in gratitude to the spirits, honoring the fallen. The child clung to the cave woman, eyes wide with awe and fear, the baby nestled safely in her arms. "We are alive," the elder proclaimed, voice strong despite the storm still raging above. "We fought for one another." A chorus of voices rose, echoing against the stone walls of their home, defiance mingling with the rain. They were battered but unbroken, a tribe forged anew in the fires of survival. Together they would face the storm, together they would thrive, for they were more than mere flesh and bone. They were family, united against the fury of the wild. And in that moment, as the storm began to subside, they felt the earth shift beneath them, the rain washing away the blood and chaos. The scent of wet earth filled their lungs, a reminder of life and renewal. They were home. They were alive. The storm had come and gone, but the bond of their clan, fierce and unyielding, remained. As they gathered arms around each other, the hunter knew that this was just the beginning. They would rebuild, they would heal, and they would honor the memories of the fallen. Together they would face whatever came next, for the storm had tested them, and they had emerged stronger than ever. The bond of community had weathered the fiercest of tempests, and together they would flourish anew, under the watchful eyes of the stars that twinkled through the clearing sky. The faint glow of embers flickered against the rocky walls, casting long shadows that danced like spirits. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and charred remnants of the fire. A low murmur rose from the group, each voice a thread weaving a tapestry of resilience. The elder, aged and wise, stood before them, the weight of loss etched into his weathered face. "Tomorrow," he rasped, "we hunt. We gather strength from the land." With each word, the cave woman clutched her child tighter, feeling the warmth of small fingers against her skin. The child, eyes wide and innocent, looked up, sensing the change in the air. The cave woman brushed a stray lock of hair behind the child's ear, her heart swelling with fierce protectiveness. The hunter shifted uneasily, the tension in his muscles coiling like a spring. "We must be swift. The rival clan roams. They will take advantage of our grief." His voice was resolute, yet his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Nods rippled through the group. They had lost so much. Vulnerability now clung to them like the morning mist that hung heavy over the valley. As night deepened, a chorus of crickets filled the spaces left by the absent sounds of the fallen. The hunter and the others gathered stones, the rough textures scratching against their palms as they prepared slings. Resina dripped from the edges of a rough-hewn bowl, the sticky sap a symbol of protection against the lurking dangers of the night. "Stay vigilant," the hunter instructed, sharpening the edge of a flint blade against a smooth stone. The rhythmic rasp echoed in the stillness. "We shall not falter." The cave woman, her spirit ignited by the promise of a new day, gathered up the pelts of those who had fallen, her fingers brushing over soft furs, each a reminder of warmth and laughter now lost. She draped them over the child, a barrier against the cold, the scent of earth and fur wrapping them in a cocoon of safety. "Tomorrow we hunt," she whispered to the child, their breath mingling in the cool air. "You will see." The child nodded, trusting in her words. With the first light of dawn, the tribe moved as one, silent and determined. The hunter led the way, eyes scanning the brush for movement. The child, holding tightly to her mother's hand, felt the pulse of the earth through her feet, a rhythm of life that steadied her heart. As they reached the hunting grounds, the hunter signaled for silence. The tension in the air was palpable, electric. The elder had imparted wisdom. Respect the spirits of the land, for they would guide them. A rustle broke the stillness. The hunter crouched low, heart pounding. The group followed suit, muscles coiled, ready. There, just beyond the thicket, a herd grazed, unaware of the impending danger. The hunter's breath hitched, instincts sharpening. "On my mark," he breathed, voice barely above a whisper. The cave woman's grip tightened on her spear, fingers brushing against the smooth wood. She could feel the weight of her ancestors in the shaft, an echo of their strength. "Now!" With a rush, they surged forward. The cacophony of hooves thundering against the earth sent vibrations through the ground. The hunter's spear flew, striking true, while the others moved in unison, a blur of motion and purpose. But amidst the chaos, a primal cry echoed. The rival clan emerged from the shadows, eyes wild, motives unclear. The cavewoman felt her heart race as she turned, bracing herself. An instant decision: protect the child or fight. "Stay close," she shouted, her voice cutting through the fray. The child clung to her side, wide-eyed as the hunter faced the rival men, muscles tense, resolve burning bright. "Defend!" he roared, raising his spear high, a challenge echoed by the crack of a club against bone. The clash surged like a storm. The cavewoman dodged, weaving through chaos, the sounds of struggle enveloping her. Fierce shouts mingled with the scent of sweat and earth, a visceral reminder of their vulnerability. In that moment, the child understood the weight of sacrifice. She watched as the cavewoman engaged, a protective aura surrounding them. The hunter fought with a ferocity fueled by the memory of the fallen, each strike a tribute, each step forward a commitment to survival. With a final push, the cavewoman thrust her spear, driving it deep into the flank of the beast. A guttural roar erupted, echoing through the dense thicket. The creature thrashed, its powerful legs clawing at the ground, sending dirt and leaves spiraling into the air. The hunter's heart raced, each pulse drumming against his chest like thunder. Stench of sweat mingled with the metallic tang of blood. Shadows danced around them, cast by the flickering firelight where the tribe gathered, eyes wide, breaths held. An elder's voice rang out, an ancient chant rooting them all to the earth. The child clutched a ragged piece of fur, wide-eyed and trembling, while the baby, cradled close, felt the vibrations of the chaos, their tiny form oblivious, yet bound to the fate of the hunt. The rival clan lurked at the edge of the clearing, eyes glinting with hunger and envy. They too sought the beast, its flesh an offering for survival. Tension crackled like the dry leaves underfoot. The hunter turned, catching the gaze of the cavewoman. A shared understanding passed between them, a silent vow. They would protect their family, their home. Another strike. The spear jolted, a violent shudder coursing through the cavewoman's arms. Blood sprayed across the ground, pooling in the dirt, dark and vivid. The beast staggered, fury in its eyes as it faced the combined strength of the two. "Now!" the hunter yelled, voice hoarse, a call to arms. Gathering all the strength within, he hurled a stone sharp as a flint, striking the creature's skull. With a final, anguished cry, it fell, crashing into the underbrush. Silence enveloped them. The air hung heavy, charged with victory and loss. The cavewoman knelt beside the fallen beast, fingers brushing the warm fur, reverence in her touch. Sacrifice was a rite, a necessary bond between life and death. Together, the tribe gathered, eyes gleaming with triumph. The elder stepped forward, raising a hand towards the sky. A chant began, reverberating through the trees, honoring the spirit of the beast, the cycle of life. Harmony reigned amidst the chaos, as survival wove them closer, forging an unbreakable bond in the heart of the wilderness. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the ground as the tribe gathered near the flickering flames. The air was thick with the scent of roasted meat, mingling with the earthy aroma of smoke and the crispness of the evening dew. The crackling fire illuminated their faces, each one marked with the remnants of the hunt, the blood and clay smudged on skin and fur. The child, wild-eyed and breathless, danced around the fire, feet kicking up embers. Laughter echoed through the clearing, a symphony of relief blending with the fading daylight. The hunter, muscles taut and weary, rested against the rough bark of a tree. He watched the child, pride swelling in his chest, his heart still racing from the chase, now beat in rhythm with the joy of survival. The cavewoman approached him, her hands still stained with the crimson of their quarry. She dropped to his side, her shoulder brushing against his. "The elder speaks of the spirit. We must honor it," she said, her voice a low whisper, almost lost in the crackle of the flame. "Sacrifice is made," the hunter replied, tightening his grip around a piece of bone still warm from their feast. "But we owe more than just a meal." He stood, eyes scanning the surrounding forest, shadows shifting like watchers in the night. The elder, draped in pelts, raised his voice above the din. "We have taken, and we must give back." His words were a deep rumble, echoing through the trees. Silence fell, ears pricked, as the tribe turned to listen. Every beast knows the cycle. We honor it with our hearts and our actions. The cavewoman rose, determination igniting her spirit. "We shall gather the herbs," she proposed, her gaze shifting towards the darkening woods. "The ones by the river's bend. They brought us good fortune before." She glanced at the hunter, seeking his strength beside her. "Together," he affirmed, stepping towards her, the ground crunching beneath their feet as they moved as one. The child, sensing the shift in energy, followed, a small figure amidst the giants. As they ventured into the darkness, the air grew cooler, filled with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The cave woman led, fingertips brushing against the rough bark of trees, her senses sharp as they navigated the hidden trails. She felt the pulse of the forest, alive and breathing, a heartbeat that mirrored their own. "Watch for the thorns," the hunter warned, his voice barely above a murmur. The tension in the air could be felt, prickling like the very spines they sought to avoid. The child nodded, wide eyes glinting, a warrior in training. They reached the river. Moonlight glimmered on the water's surface, reflecting their resolve. The cave woman knelt, hands sifting through the underbrush, searching for the vibrant green leaves that promised healing and protection. The hunter stood guard, muscles coiled, alert for any movement in the shadows. The child, ever curious, wandered closer to the water's edge. The sound of rushing water mingled with the night's whispers, a lullaby filled with secrets. Suddenly, a rustle among the reeds sent a tremor through the hunter. He turned sharply, fingers tightening around the rough handle of his makeshift spear. "Stay close," he barked, his voice sharp as flint. The cave woman froze, eyes wide as she reached for the child, pulling him back into her embrace. The hunter's heart raced, instinct screaming, alert to every sound. From the shadows emerged a solitary figure, a rival from the neighboring clan. His posture was tense, eyes narrowed, lips curled into a snarl. "You dare trespass?" he growled, the words dripping like poison. "We seek only to honor," the cave woman spoke, voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "We take nothing that is not ours." The rival clan member stepped forward, fingers brushing against the crude weapon slung across his back. "You make offerings, but the forest is not yours to claim. You must pay." His words dripped with malice, a reminder of the territory's unspoken rules. Tension crackled between them, a taut line ready to snap. The hunter shifted, eyes locked on the rival, muscles coiling for the inevitable clash. But the cave woman's hand on his arm held him steady. "Let us speak. Blood spilled will not bring peace." The rival's gaze flickered, uncertainty glimmering in the depths. "Speak, but know this. My people will not stand idle while you take." The elder's teachings echoed in the hunter's mind. Words, not weapons, could forge paths through the wild thickets of conflict. "We offer not just herbs, but a promise," the hunter said, voice low, steady. "A pact. We share the bounty, and we honor the forest as one." A heartbeat passed, the night thick with anticipation. The rival's posture shifted, though suspicion lingered like a fading mist. "And if you break this bond, then we shall pay a greater price," the cave woman interjected, her voice steady and unwavering. "Our lives, our kin. We will never again return to these woods without honoring the spirit." After what seemed like an eternity, the rival stepped back, assessing. "Very well. We shall observe." He turned, retreating into the shadows, leaving behind an air thick with unspoken tension. The cave woman exhaled, relief washing over her like a warm tide. The hunter placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding them both. The child, sensing the shift in the air, looked up, eyes bright. "Are we safe?" "For now," the hunter replied, the tension still lingering like a ghost. "But we must be vigilant. The spirit of the forest is fickle, and so too are its guardians." Together they gathered the herbs, hands working in harmony. The moon rose higher, casting silver light upon their newfound path. With each leaf they collected, they whispered their thanks to the spirit, forging an unbreakable bond with the land around them. As they returned to their tribe, the fire's glow beckoned them home. Each step echoed with the heartbeat of survival, a rhythm of hope ignited by the flames of community. In the heart of the wilderness, they found strength not just in their weapons, but in the unyielding ties that bound them together. The fire crackled, shadows danced, and the scent of roasted meat filled the air, a reminder of the cycle they honored. In the gathering of their kin, a murmur of safety settled among them. Laughter broke the silence, a melody of survival that resonated through the valleys. They were a tribe, united by flesh and spirit, woven together in the embrace of the wild. And as the moon hung heavy in the sky, they offered their thanks, pledging to remember the lesson, that in the dance of life and death, they would always rise together, resilient and strong. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and the crackling of embers as the fire flickered, casting shadows on the rocky walls. The elder, with his gnarled hands, traced the darkened carvings of ancestors long past. Each line told a story, a warning, a promise. The flicker of the flame danced in the eyes of the tribe, reflecting the bond forged in struggle and survival. The cave woman, her brow glistening with sweat, gathered the last remnants of the evening's hunt. She held the warm flesh of game, its scent mingling with the earthy aroma of damp stone. The child, wide-eyed, watched closely, absorbing the wisdom in the way her hands moved deftly. A clump of wild berries lay at her feet, their sweetness a rare treasure. "Together," she whispered to the child, her voice a soft rustle against the crackling fire. "We gather. We share." The hunter, muscles taut from the day's labor, returned to the warmth, cradling a club made from the sturdy bone of a great beast. With each step, he felt the weight of protection, the need to shield his kin from the lurking shadows outside their haven. The chill of the night air seeped in through the crevices, but here they were safe, wrapped in the warmth of their unity. As the stars blinked into existence, a low howl echoed in the distance, a reminder of the wild's breath. The tribe huddled closer, hearts beating in sync, knowing that the world outside would always demand sacrifice. But they also knew they were woven tightly, each thread a vow whispered into the night, a promise to rise each time they fell. The fire crackled, and in its flickering light they found hope, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of their clan, preparing for whatever awaited them beyond the sheltering stone. The dawn broke, casting pale rays over the rocky ledge. Shadows danced as the caveman tightened his grip on the club, its rough surface familiar, comforting. He felt the earth cool beneath his feet. The scent of damp moss filled his nostrils, mingling with the acrid smoke still lingering from the fire. "Cautious," the elder's voice broke the morning stillness, gravelly and firm. He pointed toward the mist-shrouded valley. "Watch for movement." The cave woman nodded, her heart thrumming. She adjusted the baby strapped tightly against her, his warmth a reminder of what they fought for. Shadows shifted among the trees. A rustle, then silence. A distant call echoed, a cry that sank deep into the pit of their stomachs. The rival clan. The hunter's pulse quickened. He scanned the horizon, muscles taut. "Ready," he whispered as the sun crested. The child clutched a sharpened stone, eyes wide. "We protect." They formed a line, shoulder to shoulder, a wall of resolve against unseen threats. The caveman tightened his jaw and drew in a breath, the taste of ash and anticipation mingling on his tongue. The world stirred, alive and dangerous, yet they stood united, a family forged in fire. A sharp crack echoed through the valley, a warning call from the high cliffs. The elder's voice cut through the tension. "Stay close, eyes sharp." The child trembled, fingers clutching the cave woman's leg, her warmth a shield against the cold bite of fear. Silence settled, thick and suffocating. The hunter's heart raced. He scanned the horizon, muscles coiled like a spring, ready for flight or fight. The wind whispered secrets, rustling through the brittle underbrush, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant smoke. A rustle broke the stillness. A dark shape slinked through the thicket. Breath caught in the hunter's throat. He tightened his grip on the spear, the wood rough beneath his calloused hands. The cave woman's eyes widened. The child's breath quickened. "Stand fast," he urged, voice low, steady. The group shifted in unison, shifting their weight, forming a tighter circle. The creature emerged, a beast sinewy and fierce, its eyes glistening like shards of glass. Hunger radiated from its snarling maw. The rival clan's scent hung heavy in the air, a reminder of past skirmishes. This beast was their harbinger, drawn to the scent of vulnerability. The caveman felt the weight of responsibility press against his chest, a silent vow to protect those he loved. "Distract it," he commanded, muscles tense, ready to spring. The cavewoman nodded, moving to the side, kicking dirt and stones into the air. The beast's gaze flickered, caught off guard. The hunter seized the moment, launching his spear with a primal cry, the weapon slicing through the air, a blur of motion. Time stretched as the spear found its mark. The beast let out a roar, a sound that echoed through the valley like thunder. The community held its breath, the air thick with tension and adrenaline. The hunter rushed forward, heart pounding like a drum. He could feel the pulse of his tribe, their courage intertwining with his own. The cave woman grabbed the child, sheltering him behind her, while the elder urged the others to gather stones, fibers, anything to fashion a trap. As the creature fell, silence enveloped them. The hunter knelt beside it, breathless, hands trembling with the thrill of survival. He met the cave woman's eyes, a spark of gratitude igniting between them. Together, she breathed, the weight of their victory settling like a warm cloak around them. The child stepped forward, curiosity overcoming fear. Life, the elder whispered, gathering the group closer. We honor it with gratitude. A ritual began as they prepared the beast, skinning, cooking, sharing the bounty. The scent of meat mingled with the smoke of the fire, a feast for the tribe. Laughter broke like the dawn, bright and freeing as they celebrated, a reminder that within the chaos of the wild, they would endure, together. The hunter looked around, feeling the warmth of connection. In that moment, the world felt both vast and intimate. They were a part of something greater, woven into the fabric of life itself. Amid struggles, sacrifices, and discoveries, this story reminds us that true strength, whether of a tribe or a family, is born from unity and the courage to protect what matters most. The caveman's legacy still echoes today, proving that the instinct to survive can forge bonds that endure through time. If this journey moved you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this and share in the comments what touched you the most about this tale.